This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, and welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion. As today, well, we can officially can it. It is the start of trade rumors season, as it appears. Well, the Oilers Nation jumping on their first article of the season, talking real big trade rumors for the Edmonton Oilers and guys that make sense, not just, oh, well, here or there. This is a move that makes sense they're talking about today in Ryan Getzlaf. So I thought, you know what, let's join in the fun. I've always been the late bird to the story here every time when it comes to trade rumors, so let's get on it the same day and let's talk all about Ryan Getzlaf and a potential move to the Edmonton Oilers from down south in Anaheim, California. So if you're new to the channel, what I want you to do is hit that subscribe button because we cover all things Oilers every single day. So make sure to stay tuned. And we got that game coming up on Monday. I'm sure you'd be interested to hear what a guy on YouTube has to say about an Oilers game. Or not. Either way, all cool. Let's get to it, shall we? Ryan Getzlaf. What do we know about Ryan Getzlaf, Tyson? Well, what we know is the fact that he is on in the last year of his deal. He's currently the captain of the Anaheim Ducks. He's 35 years old. And well, crazy part about it is he's making $8.25 million on the back end of a deal that started back in 2013, an 8-year deal at 8.25, which is $250,000 less than, yes, that guy named Leon Draisaitl, by the way. So that's the case as it is right now. So we'll talk about salary implications and all that in mere moments, but what we need to know about Ryan Getzlaf is what he's doing this season and what he hasn't done in the past couple of seasons for the Anaheim Ducks. So with that, let me turn it over to a graphic here that I've got queued up right now for you. A little chart. Oh my goodness, I've got that 5,000 times zoom. Pardon me. Hold on a second, all right? Not fully prepared, but I come prepared sometimes, and we'll get to it. So Ryan Getzlaf's stats, you'll be able to read this here. I'm going to move all the way over here so as you can still see my face if you want to see my face as I move out of frame. But he's been with his Ducks the whole career through, right? He is Captain Duck. He is what the Anaheim Ducks have been about for the entirety of his time playing for them. So I'm going to enlarge this so as I can actually read it fully for you, and then we'll talk about it. So past couple of years, he started falling off a bit here with the Anaheim Ducks, right? 61 points in 56 games back in 17-18. That was one of his far better years. Of course, you'd remember the playoff year against the Oilers in 16-17. And then, while 18-19 and 19-20, 42 points and 48 points respectively. Never a huge goal scorer in his career. Highest total is 31 career goals on this chart. But a guy that has been in the playoffs more often than not throughout his career, and more often than not, it seems, half the time at least, played 17 or 12 or some kind of games, double digits in the playoffs. So when it comes to Mr. Ryan Getzlaf, a guy who's also had just about 971 points in his career in 1,066 games, and don't forget 120 points in 125 playoff games. So the big focus is what he's doing so far this season. Only 6 points in 13 games. That's probably the lowest point pace of his career in a long time, and a -3 on the season. Of course, the Ducks aren't that great of a team by any means, I don't think anyway, so let me just do the math here and make sure I'm not going out and messing around with you. So the Ducks, yeah, they're 6-6-3, 15 points in 15 games played. So yeah, 3 points behind the Oilers, I guess, but those 3 overtime losses, the loser point really comes into effect. They've only scored 30 goals. They've allowed 39 goals against. So some stuff makes sense here, all right, for why Ryan Getzlaf is struggling, and he's getting up there in age too. So the Oilers Nation article that I'm stealing this idea from essentially threw out there, well, guess what? He wants to chase that Stanley Cup one last time. The problem is, are the Oilers the team to do it with? Well, that is the question that remains to be answered. But I'm sorry, the question that remains to be answered for a right-hand shot centerman who's 35 years old, 6'4" and 225 pounds, what question remains to be answered for me? Well, simply, is he an upgrade for the Oilers? Is there anywhere on this roster where we could actually use a Ryan Getzlaf instead of, say, a Kyle Turris or Gaetan Haas? And I think, yes, there's room for a guy like that to be an upgrade for the Oilers. Definitely, right? Ryan Getzlaf, the experience alone is a huge upgrade for the Oilers, even if it is in a fourth line role. But that is where we find our conundrum in a trade rumor linking Ryan Getzlaf to the Oilers? Is Ryan Getzlaf, okay, well, is he a third-line centerman still? Probably still. But throwing him out there in that kind of role on the Oilers side of things probably doesn't exactly lead to perfect ice time for him. He's probably in that Kyle Turris kind of role where he's penalty killing, and then he's probably also in that Kyle Turris role where he's out there doing the minutes that really don't count as much. So is he going to bring the production? Well, hopefully, but who's he playing with? Is he playing with Archibald and Ennis? Is he playing with Kara and Ennis? Is he playing with Kara and Archibald, right? Or is he on the fourth line with like a Chiasson or a James Neal? Who would it be his line mates? That's the question I would really be asking right there. And then secondarily, the big question is, what do you give up for a guy that's going to find himself playing in that kind of role? Unless, of course, you want to play Ryan Getzlaf as a top line right winger. Now, a guy who's been a centerman his whole career, and I guess, again, you know what, in an eventuality where a career is aging and you're seeing Joe Thornton playing on the left wing with, what was it, Austin Matthews and somebody else? So you've seen some crazy combinations to start this season in terms of Canadian hockey. So the question I ask yourself is, there's many options as to how the Oilers could deploy a Ryan Getzlaf in a trade while also getting value for the trade they make. Unfortunately, Ryan Getzlaf is Ryan Getzlaf. He's the captain of the Anaheim Ducks. He's been a player as long as a player has been in the NHL, a good one at that. And you ask yourself in that, all of that, right? Whether it be the captain, 6'4", right-hand shot, centerman. He is a guy that fits the bill of every single team looking to upgrade at the trade deadline should he be available. So what do the Oilers have to give up? And that's where my real big fear comes into play here, is that Ryan Getzlaf is going to be costly if the Oilers were to even look into it. The problem is the salary is a bit of a burden for any team in the NHL unless you're trading back salary or you're retaining salary. So for the Oilers, if they could find a way, maybe ship an Alex Chiasson and a first-round pick, they can probably absorb the hit of a Ryan Getzlaf at half salary retained. But right there, I just said essentially a swear word to Oilers fans. Trading a first-round pick to the Anaheim Ducks for a 35-plus player. That is scary territory, but unfortunately, when I was sitting here doing my pre-video notes and sitting here thinking, man, what would it realistically take? It's going to take a first-round pick, right? It's got to. It's Ryan Getzlaf. It's not like you're trading for Corey Perry of the Montreal Canadiens. No, you're trading for the captain of the Anaheim Ducks, who has been there, done that throughout his entire career, cup winner, multiple playoff appearances, all kinds of great stats to tell you this is the guy that wins hockey games for you. And, well, you know what? End of the day, it's the Anaheim Ducks, the Edmonton Oilers. That isn't a friendly thing to begin with anyway. But tough, right? Is you're going to have to pay, and especially you're going to have to pay through the nose if you're going to have any hope of actually getting them on salary retained, which is about the only way the Oilers can absorb a Ryan Getzlaf. I mean, unless you trade James Neal and a first-round pick for the full salary of Ryan Getzlaf, but that sounds like dreamer talk to me at this point. James Neal now on waivers with the taxi squad situation. Every day it's negative value, so are you really going to take down that value of that first round pick, which isn't going to be a lottery pick, hopefully, if the Oilers do make the playoffs, right? It won't be a lottery pick. So you got to take that into effect that the Ducks would be getting at best a mid to late round first and James Neal for their lifelong, at this point, captain and leader of the franchise that is known fully as the Anaheim Ducks. So a lot to unpack there, right? It's not as simple as it seems, but if Ryan Getzlaf wants to come to Edmonton, I guess that's the other side too. Third is the no-move clause that Ryan Getzlaf has, and you ought to think if he's an Anaheim Duck that the Edmonton Oilers are on the no-trade list, although some people might say, wait a minute, I know something about Ryan Getzlaf being from Saskatchewan. Yeah, he is from Regina, Saskatchewan, and if I know anything about my Saskatchewan friends, I'll tell you this, they cheer for the Edmonton Oilers. So you're kidding yourself if Ryan Getzlaf, who was born way back in 1985, would have been able to form memories of that 1990 Stanley Cup lift by the Edmonton Oilers? Well, you know what? Maybe he is deep down, way back when, got some Edmonton Oilers bed sheets like John Tavares did with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff at the wall right now because I'm about out of points to argue. But Ryan Getzlaf, there's a lot to unpack, and I can argue why or why not. But realistically, it's how. How is the big question here, because there's really not enough hows on how to get this one done, because they are stacked hugely against the Oilers on any kind of potential Ryan Getzlaf move. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. I hope you've taken the past 10 minutes to consider hitting that subscribe button. If you watched all the way through, the last thing I'm going to ask of you is leave a like on the video, and let's try and get this out here to as many people as possible and see what the differing opinions from people commenting on the Oilers Nation stuff is to what people are commenting on mine. And I know I said a lot of swear words to Oilers fans in this video. My apologies. I am up on out of here.